Welcome to the introduction of using the equation editor. This is an important new topic in Trident's math and science courses. We're no longer accepting handwritten work in either type of course. The equation editor must be used. Now, the one we're going to be talking about today is the editor that's found on Word 7 and 10 insert ribbon. Up here you'll see that it's where it goes. Now, you'll also see this dim, which means we can't get to it. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we go any further, though, there are three alternatives if you don't have Word or don't want to use Word. A better alternative that costs money is called MathType, and there's the URL for their web page right there. It's an editor that costs money, has more features than what we're going to be talking about. A usable alternative that is free is the OpenOffice equation editor, and here's a link to the PDF manual. And if you have an earlier version of Word and you want to use equation editor in that earlier version, see the help for that particular version. Now, as I mentioned, you must be using Word 7 or above, and the document you're working in must be a Word 7 document. That is, it has to have a docx file type or file extension. This particular document is not. I deliberately created it in an old version of Word. Word 1997, 2003, whatever. Anyway, how can you tell that? Well, come up here to the very top of the page, and if you see the title of the document, and then in parentheses after it, you see compatibility mode, you know you've got to convert the document to Word 7 format before you can go any further, and before this equation symbol here becomes live, so to speak, and you can use it. So how do you do that? Glad you asked. You do it by coming up to the Windows button in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, clicking and coming down to Convert. That's all there is to it. And you get a dialog box with all of the stuff that the lawyers say that Microsoft has to tell you, so click OK. And the document is now in Word 7 format. You now have access to the equation editor. Now, the next step is to come to the spot on the page where you want to write your equation, and click on the equation editor. Now, there are a number of built-in equations, and we'll talk about those later. But first of all, we'll go down to Insert New Equation. And the first thing we see is that the field where we're going to be entering the equation is centered in the page. If we don't want it there, we have to do something simple. Namely, we have to put some kind of character, a space or a number or something at the beginning of the line, and then you click on Insert and click on Equation and click on Insert New Equation, and it goes in where you want it to go in. Now, another thing you'll notice is that this is awfully tiny. The font in the equation editor is Calibri, and you don't have a choice of font because Calibri is the only font that has all the symbols and gewgaws and doodads that we need for our equations. But we can make it bigger. To do that, go up to Home, find Calibra Math, and go down to like 14, and that will make everything a little bit bigger. So it says type our equation here. We're going to type what we see up here, and we're typing. Again, going back to the keyboard, we type y is equal to a, and here we see the very first thing where the equation editor comes in handy. If you're not looking at equation tools, come up and click on that. Now, the next thing we see, the x squared, is something that has a superscript on it, and x squared. So click up here on the scripts button and find the form we're looking for, which is right there. Now we can go ahead and continue typing plus bx plus c, and then, oops, didn't mean that, I meant plus c. Then we can drop back here, click on that field and type in our x, and click on that field and type in our squared, and we're done. Well, we're not quite done because we know how to solve the problem given the variables, the values we're given. So there's a quick and easy way of proceeding here. We highlight our equation. On the keyboard, we click Control C to copy it, go to new line, put in a space, and on the keyboard we tap Control V, and we get our equation copied. Now, coming into our equation, we can just replace everything with the actual value. Now, a is equal to 1, x is equal to 1 too, so we'll put a parentheses 1 like that. Sorry, didn't do that quite right. B is equal to 2, x is equal to 1, C is equal to 3. And have everything all set up. It's just a matter of cranking it out in the next lines. And that's the rest of it worked out while you weren't looking. And that is the end of the first video.